Time to take a look at this motor. This is from the White Rotary, and I'm not surprised, but the brushes seem to be stuck in place, which ideally the brushes are supposed to be loose in the holders, because that means that they can slide up and down to properly contact the commutator. But a lot of times they get covered in grease and oil and get stuck. So let's see now. They are visible through the end bell here. So, but we'll take the new tire off, and once the tire is out of the way, I think that was, yep. The original tire had a flat screw, and the new tire has a hex screw set screw. The end bell for the motor is held on with these 1/4-inch nuts. So we'll just pop that nut off of there, and that nut off there, and see. Okay, there is a tiny gap there. And that prying is not helping. Okay. That means it is time to see what else we can do about... Oh, there's a... I can pop this bracket off the side of this. Motor here and just get that out of the way. Or not. So now I don't know what that screw did. Alright. Yep, okay. I'm not sure what that screw did, so we're going to put that back in and make sure that whatever it was holding in place doesn't come out as we go here. Alright, let's see if we can... That cap doesn't want to pry off with any effort. Okay. Gonna need to find a fine finer screwdriver that fits down in here better to pry with, because the one I have is too big. Although, let's see about tapping that in like a wedge did not help either. Okay. Oh, I did get a little bit of motion on this side. Okay, let's try back on this side. Oh, that didn't crack that side. Alright, I need to find a finer screwdriver to poke in there. And I can also see the brushes from this end, so we'll see what we can do about getting this cap off. Alright, actually got my Stanley knives here. Is cutting a little bit. Well, now we have to get this open because I broke the tip of the Stanley blade off in that gap. But that was enough. To get purchase on this side. And now we've got that gap, and there we go. And that gap open. Beautiful. Get that broken Stanley knife bit out of there.
There we go. Okay. So we pulled on that. We had to pop this metal plate here. And there's the fan for cooling. And there is a spot right in the middle here. You can see the stripe. Something is hitting that rotor. And then we've got the commutator end, and this commutator is filthy and oily. Oh wow, just the slightest wipe and that cleaned right up. Alright, well I'm gonna get some Q-tips. Oh, look at all that black. That is all carbon wiping off of this commutator. So, yeah. Alright, well, it's not terribly badly scored. Running my fingers over it, it doesn't feel bad. So I'm going to get Q-tips and rubbing alcohol and clean that up. And we'll get this cap off this end. Well, maybe not. Okay, well, I thought that felt loose enough that it would slide off the way it's supposed to, but clearly I should have cleaned that shaft more before I pulled the motor bearing up over it. So that is going to be a problem for future. I'll have to get this tapped down, pushed back on there so that I can clean that shaft, and then can I? Alright, we'll have to go find a wood block, a pair of wood blocks, so that we can put this back through. But the commutator is clean. That means that we can also reach down in here and push a little bit on those brushes, and they are not coming loose. Will they go down and pop out the other direction? Yep. Okay. There's one. This is just, oh yeah, this is just caked in grease and oil. So these brushes were so firmly stuck in there that the motor was gonna quit working pretty quickly. So we'll push this brush through.
I think. Okay, well, I guess we're gonna have to put some penetrating oil on that brush to get it to come loose. And then once we've got both of the brushes out, we can clean them and so that they'll move properly. So we'll be back, and I'm just gonna put, like, we're at the point now where more oil in there is the solution and not the problem. So I'm gonna fill that brush hole up with sewing machine oil so that it will hopefully soak in past all the gunk and whatnot that's holding that brush in, and then I'll be able to poke the brush out, and once we've got both the brushes out, we'll be able to scrub through there and get the goo out. And then, yeah, I'm gonna have to go grab a couple pieces of wood and make some blocks so that I can push this back into place and then clean the shaft to pull it off and whatnot. But otherwise, the rotor here is visually okay, so that's good. Okay, so I took the motor out to the garage, and I got a block of wood, and this was wedged on right about there. I drilled a 5/16 because that's a 1/4 inch shaft in the block of wood, and put this end on another block of wood and just drove this down to where it was about here, and then it was loose enough I could get it back on the shaft. And I just wiped the shaft with rubbing alcohol. I didn't use anything else on it, and then this whole bearing cap slid right off. So the tolerance is so close that just the gummy old lubricant on this shaft was enough to wedge it and stick it on there. So I wiped that off, and now that this end is off, this plate came off, and so did the bushing from this end of the shaft, and I need to make sure that this bushing stays on that end. This is the bushing that fell off of the other end here. While I was in the garage, I also wiped the commutator off with rubbing alcohol because I had a good rag out there, and it's looking really nice. But we're gonna get a bit more and clean these filthy brushes and clean the brush holders. that's the first ones, and that's the last one through that hole, so oh yeah. Perfect. I'll clean this other one. All right, both of those brush holders look clean down in there, and I'll just these brushes were just covered in oil for a long time. That's why they were so stuck into this motor housing. Oh yeah. So I'm scraping these brushes with this knife. You can hear the sound change as the oil scrapes off and the brush is starting to actually, like, the knife is scraping on carbon instead of the oil. But I think a bit of soaking and wiping here that we have gotten these brushes cleaned off so that they aren't going to stick in the brush holders anymore. So let's see here. Nope. Didn't quite get it. There. See if that brush went through the corners of the brush holder better. Okay. This brush is almost clean enough. So there we go. Yep, that one is okay. And now right, and then this one now slides in the brush holder the way it should. Perfect. So let's take our long reach oiler and put a dab of oil in the bottom bearing there. And then we can take our rotor, put the bushing on it, slide it in there. There we go. Get it to pop in, and then these are the two studs with the nuts that hold the end bell on. So we'll hold those up. Then we'll remember to put our washers here that came out of this end in place. We'll put one bit of oil on there, and then this plate snaps down inside, and then the motor cap goes on. And I've got one nut that I can get on, so we'll start that side, and then we'll hold that in, and a little tap with a rubber handle until we get the nuts started, and then gently tighten this nut, and it pulls the bell back together. And I'm just snugging these. I'm not tightening these nuts. The motor sits on the back there. Both the oil cups are facing up, so that will be that. It's turning freely. And then we can put our motor bearing, our brushes in. So we'll that one in the top here. With its cap. And then this one in the bottom. Checking there's this curve, make sure the curve is matched to match the curve of the commutator when you put it in. Because if you don't get the curve matched, then there won't be as much contact. And you'll get a lot of arcing and brush wear until they seat back in the way they're supposed to. Along with not a lot of power and other electrical issues. So there we go. That should be much better, and when we get it back on after we check the connections on the wiring harness to figure out why the light is going out, we'll be able to test again.